The Carnival in Montevideo. It's a time for celebration. But this year, the main theme was deadly serious: whether to support the yellow or the green vote in the coming referendum. And most of the carnival groups were all on the side of the Greens. Supporters of the green vote are everywhere, a huge popular movement. They are pushing for the repeal of a controversial amnesty for policemen and soldiers accused of murder and torture during 12 years of military dictatorship. The Yellow campaign, backed by the government, is relying on a series of costly television advertisements, which conjures up disturbing memories of the political strife in Uruguay during the 60s and 70s.
Para confirmar la paz que hoy vivimos, vote la papeleta color amarillo.
The Green campaign is also using emotional images, like this of a baby girl still missing 4 years after the end of the dictatorship. Her grandmother has long fought against the amnesty.
Tengo mi hija, mi yerno y mi nieta desaparecidos en Buenos Aires en el año 1976. En esa fecha, los tres fueron secuestrados, desaparecidos.
With Uruguay and its neighbor Argentina both under military rule, intelligence forces from Uruguay were free to pick off their opponents in either country. One of the best known of the victims is a priest, Father Pérez Aguirre, who was imprisoned frequently during the dictatorship.
Yo el año pasado en las calles de Montevideo ya me encontré 2 veces con mi propio torturador, ¿verdad? Es una situación que cualquiera puede de alguna manera intuir, pero difícilmente imaginar. Él sabe concretamente que yo lo he perdonado a él, ¿no? Porque tuve condiciones para hacerlo. Porque en un momento dado yo no estaba encapuchado y lo pude identificar. Y él sabía que yo era sacerdote y que podía de alguna manera también perdonar.
The years of torture and murder were quite out of character for this country, a peaceful place whose reputation for democracy and advanced social legislation was known throughout the world. It's a small country, no bigger than England and Wales, with a population of only 3 million, mainly of European descent. Half the population lives here in Montevideo, although the economy has always been based on sheep and cattle farming in the countryside. There, the gaucho tradition still dies hard. But from the mid-1960s, increasingly authoritarian governments clashed with workers and students, and with the Tupamaro guerrilla movement. The violence finally put paid to the country's image as the Switzerland of South America. In 1973, when the generals took over, the Tupamaros had already been wiped out, but the arrests and imprisonment of anyone expressing opposition went on. 1 out of every 50 Uruguayans went through interrogation and torture. But 4 years ago, economic problems and public pressure finally forced a return to a transitional democracy. Exiles had waited years for this moment and flooded back despite the uncertainty. The new civilian president promised a full investigation into human rights abuses, but the government was soon to change its tune. Vice President Tarigo, a candidate for the presidency this year, was one of the promoters of the amnesty.
La ley de caducidad fue una ley sancionada el 22 de diciembre del 86, por la cual el Estado declaró que renunciaba a la acción penal, a la acción punitiva contra policías y militares que hubieran delinquido contra los derechos humanos durante el gobierno de facto. Ha sido, en definitiva, una ley de amnistía, y nosotros consideramos que esta ley de amnistía es la contrapartida a la ley de amnistía que se había sancionado en 1985 y que comprendió a todos los elementos subversivos que habían atentado contra las instituciones del país en la década del 70 y que en buena medida fueron también la causa o el origen del golpe de Estado que luego sufrió el país.
In 1985, an amnesty was granted to most of the political prisoners and they were released from jail. Many of them were trade unionists and political opponents of the regime, with no connection to the Tupamaro guerrilla movement. But do the Tupamaros accept any of the blame for what happened in Uruguay? We asked one of their leaders, Fernández Huidobro.
Nosotros hemos rendido hartamente cuentas de todo lo que hicimos y dejamos de hacer, ¿verdad? Fuimos torturados, fuimos prisioneros durante décadas, fuimos procesados por la justicia militar y por la justicia civil. Y los militares hoy se están negando a concurrir a la justicia.
Writer Eduardo Galeano, who spent years in exile, has spoken out continuously against the law.
The law of impunity absolves, before any trial or possibility of trial, the militaries who, under the period of state terrorism, raped women or killed people or abducted children or tortured so many Uruguayan citizens.
During the past 4 years of relative democracy, it has become increasingly clear that the military are still calling the tune. The present defense minister, General Medina, was commander-in-chief of the armed forces towards the end of the dictatorship.
Como comandante en jefe, impulsé la ley de caducidad, ley que lleva a las Fuerzas Armadas a un estado de tranquilidad una vez que es aprobada en el Parlamento.
This feeling is not shared by the victims and their families. Among them is the widow of the murdered president of the Chamber of Deputies, Matilde de Gutiérrez Ruiz, who has led the campaign against the amnesty.
La votación de la ley de caducidad del 22 de diciembre del 86 produjo una gran frustración en el pueblo uruguayo, una gran irritación en grandes masas de la población, y eso había que canalizarlo, y por suerte nuestra Constitución contaba con un artículo que permite que las leyes sean sometidas a referéndum.
The referendum clause in the Constitution of Uruguay requires that a quarter of the voting population sign a petition to put an unpopular law to the test. Collecting the 600,000 signatures was a superhuman task carried out against a campaign of official threats and bullying. Last December, after 2 years of an uphill struggle, they won their battle for a referendum, and there was dancing in the streets. But the joy was not shared by the country's leading conservative politicians.
Hay un problema que está resuelto, bien, mal, regular, todo eso siempre es materia opinable, pero está resuelto, que le ha dado además buen resultado al país, porque el país, la sociedad entera, se ha reconciliado, ha vivido en un régimen de convivencia, de tolerancia, durante todos estos 4 años.
Opinamos todo lo contrario. La reconciliación no se va a producir jamás mientras un sector de las Fuerzas Armadas se crean con privilegios ante la ley. Hay una enorme masa de la ciudadanía que está dolida, fuertemente dolida aún por los sucesos de la dictadura, y nadie ha dado una reparación a esto.
Las otras cosas, las otras acusaciones que se hacen de apremios, de torturas, está todo inscrito en el mismo cuadro de violencia que genera un enfrentamiento armado. Esa gente que estuvo participando de esos eventuales actos no estuvo por voluntad propia. Estuvo en razón de su función y en razón de haber sido designado para hacerlo. Si en un momento un jefe le da la orden de que vaya y que proceda a hacer X cosa, ese jefe es el responsable. Y el jefe de ese jefe es el responsable.
Presidential candidate Jorge Valle of the Colorado Party is another politician who would rather not dig too deep into the past. He is actively campaigning for the yellow vote amongst the large landowners and the people who work for them.
If we start now to try to find who was guilty of that act in this side or in this side, we are never in a situation to change our lives and to really try to recreate what we were in the early days of this century.
For the poor in Uruguay, now almost half the population, things have been getting worse for the past 2 decades. Political speeches about justice and equality are seen in a different light by the increasing numbers of slum dwellers on the edge of Montevideo.
No, o sea que igualdad no hay, justicia no hay, porque acá ves, acá en este propio barrio, que si por robar para darle de comer a tus hijos te mandan hasta 10 años a prisión, y sin embargo hay gente que son militares, que han matado gente, han secuestrado gente, y aún sigue libre, entonces no es igualdad de justicia.
Whatever the outcome, the Green campaign has undoubtedly made a major impact on Uruguay. For the first time since the dictatorship, there is a vitality in the political life of the country. But the result of the ballot is by no means certain.
Pienso, mi modesta opinión, de que va a ganar el amarillo. Porque en este país la gente es pacífica, no quiere movimientos, guerras, no quiere nada. Es un país donde cada cual es muy cómodo este país. Tratan de venir de su trabajo, quedarse en su casa, prender el televisor. No hay mucha cuestión de política acá.
Perhaps we'll win, I don't know. I hope so. I hope that the green country, the green Uruguay, will win. Because otherwise we would be, as usual in Latin America, doomed to a sort of impotence of civil power and something like a democracy under surveillance.
Up to now, this has been a peaceful and democratic campaign. But how the military might react if the Green vote wins remains an open question.
Donde podría haber algún problema es en el caso de que se diga que la ley está anulada. Ahí no me atrevo a vaticinar lo que puede suceder.
At the headquarters of the Electoral Court, the ballot boxes are ready. In a week's time, they will decide the future of Uruguay.